Revival with the Pipers, which is fantastic, very fitting for Ecurie Ecosse. This car's here as part of the celebration for Ecurie Ecosse, and particularly the 1957 win of 24 Hours of Le Mans. This car finished first, the next car finished second, and third place next to that. Alongside it, the two team cars from 1956 when they raced for Jaguar at Le Mans and elsewhere. Then the three were Ecosse cars for 57.
My name's Rod Jolly, and the car is the Monza Napoli listed Jaguar, which was built for the race of two worlds at Monza in 1958, driven by Jack Fairman. Ecurie Ecosse enjoyed considerable success in 1957 with the D-Type, also driven by Fearless Jack. And they were hoping to get a much better result in 58 with this car. Unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out that way. It wasn't the success they hoped for. After that, it was converted to a two-seater sports racing car by Phil Scragg, and it achieved huge success on the hill climb scene and sprint scene. And then at some point, I think in the late 60s, early 70s, in the hands of Martin Chapman, it was converted partially back to the Monza Lister that we see today. The car wasn't a success, unfortunately. It wasn't aerodynamic enough, and it couldn't sustain the high speeds that even the D-Type could manage. Well, Lister Engineering of Cambridge was an engineering company who built chassis and then had bodies built, and they would put in all sorts of different engines, from NG to Bristol to, in the end, to Jaguar. So it was a Lister chassis with a Jaguar engine. I loved it all my life. It's a car which my wife and I had admired for many, many, many years. I just love the appearance of it. It's just, I think, such a beautiful car. And it makes a lovely noise. And it goes very well. The engine is a 3.8 wide-angle D-Type Jaguar engine, full race engine, dry sump, triple Weber carbs, about 330 brake horsepower and current tune, which is a bit more than they had in the day, but still not silly. I find it quite a difficult car to drive. The 18-inch rear tyres are of a pre-war design, so they don't really grip the road very well. So it certainly has a surplus of power over road holding. I was very lucky to be invited to be a part of this fabulous tribute to Ecurie Ecosse, and also to race in the Richmond Trophy. Conditions were quite tricky in qualifying on Friday. The track was half wet, half dry. This is a fairly heavy lump of motor car, and so we qualified midfield. In the race it was dry, although we had some rain on the far side of the circuit halfway through. I got up to 8th place, and you know, I'm fairly happy with that. It's an event I always enjoy hugely. Fabulous track, of course, just the most wonderful track. The organisation here is absolutely superb, and yeah, it's something that everybody looks forward to. We all hope that we're going to get an invitation next year.
My name is Rod Gordian. I'm from Australia, and I came over in 1954 to get into the automotive industry. Called on Jaguar, and at that time they were just starting their first run of the D-Type Jaguar, these cars here, and they were looking for about 20 guys to put these things together, and I just happened to be number one to start with. They started around about 1951 with XK120s, and then they proceeded to the C-Type, which was the one prior to this, and then in 55 they bought the first three production D-Types. And so then that's when I joined them, and I spent like the latter part of 55, 56 and 57 with them. Well, David Murray was a chartered accountant in Edinburgh. He was a hotelier, and he had a small service station in Murchison Mews. And in 1951 he started a team of three XK120s, and then they advanced from the 120 into the C-Type, which became the D-type. In 1957, we were up against 10 Ferraris, 5 Maseratis, and the works team Aston Martin, and others. But over the 24 hours, unfortunately for them, they fell by the wayside. Our instructions to the drivers was, just take it quietly, let the big boys go. So instead of 5.8, which was the normal rev range, the patron, which was Mr. Murray, said keep to 5.5, which they did. And then by 12 o'clock midday on the Sunday, with another 4 hours to go, all the others bar one had fallen by the wayside. One Ferrari, well, we came in 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and the fifth was a Ferrari, the only one still running. So it was a very, very good year for us, but for all the private entries, because they all beat the works teams. During a season, Ecurie Ecosse would go 15 race meetings, UK and the continent. And then at 56 we did, and 57 was the same again. It's absolutely fabulous. I mean, it's 60 years since I was here last. We were racing here, and it was nothing like this. There was a beer tent, that was about all. But all this has happened over the last few years, and it's a fantastic thing to keep the whole thing going. It's really good to see all the cars and to hear the cars. It's a very lovely feeling to hear the crisp note when we're driving around, to hear the changing down and the exhaust note. It brings back a lot of good memories. Been a lot of work. Actually, Clive Beecham, who owns number 15, put the whole thing together. Over 9 months he's been working very hard.
I started obviously my working life at August 48. Became an apprentice panel beaters at King and Taylor's in Godalming. And a friend and I used to go regularly to Branch Hatch to race meetings. We had like a season ticket to go to all the meetings. And we went to this big sports car race there. And these guys were running. And the Tajeros in those days had Coventry Climaxes in the back. And we watched this one come round, got tangled up with the back marker, lost it, crashed into a marshal's post and kind of wrecked the car. Following weekend in Motorsport, there was an advert under the box number. I thought, yeah, I can do that, that'll be all right. So I applied for the job. Was asked to go for an interview in Edinburgh, met DM, and yeah, got the job. So there I went, off up to Edinburgh. So I spent an enjoyable 1962 up there. I was a new boy in the team, and Jackie became the new driver in the team. You know? So we got on famously, actually, Jackie and I. And I still rate the guy very highly. And when we used to travel, I used to travel in that with Sandy Arthur, and the other guys used to go by car. And you know, if Sandy used to get tired, we just swap over and I'd do a little bit. And on one event we were coming down here to the race down here, and I lived then, well my parents lived then, in Whitley. So I said, come on, we'll stay at home tonight. So we drove the old truck up to Sunny Hill in Whitley, parked it outside my mother's house with the race cars on, which was a major, like a magnet for the kids in the village. And yesterday was outstanding. I got a lap around with Rod in the Mons Annapolis car, which all the times I've been down here and we've run cars and tested here, I've never ever been around the circuit before, so it was really quite thrilling actually to go around in a car like that. And I know we were doing a parade laps, but you still get the impression of how fast they go, because when he hits the fall, boy, that thing did take off. Yeah, very, very enjoyable day that was. Yeah. It was a good era. There was a lot happening, a lot of change, a lot of development, but it was a bloody awful time. I lost endless friends, I'm afraid. It was very, very dangerous in that era. the world of motorsport owes a huge debt of gratitude to Jackie Stewart. Yeah, they were both the cars that I started working on with them, because when I joined the team we had 2 Tajeros and a Cooper Monaco. I think this is one of them right behind us now. And this should have the Buick engine in it. Now, from the screen back, my handiwork. And one of the things we did with this car, it used to have a spare wheel in the front, had to have a luggage box in the back, and the fuel tanks run down the side, up to the scuttle, and then around the spare wheel. And when we were only doing short races, it was a job to tell the fuel level. So we had to put a boss in one of the tanks with a dipstick in so we could tell how much fuel was in it. And I was modifying one of them and got called to the office. Came back and forgot to re-neutralise the tank, picked up the welding torch and started welding, and it goes boom! Big twisted, all bloated tank, so that took like 2 days to repair the tank because I forgot to re-neutralise the fuel cell. The Le Mans things, the rear window would be the equivalent of 4.5 inches vertical rear view. So you had to, check that you could at least get 4.5 inches vertical with that sort of slope. So if you couldn't, you just made the window that little bit longer. It was mainly Sandy Arthur was the truck driver, but if he got a bit knacked, I'd get in and do an hour or so, and that would be it really. I was basically along for the ride, because the other guys thought, well, he's a Sassenach, let him sit in the truck. Which I didn't mind at all, it was fine. I love the old truck. I think it's a really elegant looking vehicle, basically. It's certainly one of a kind, and I think was probably the first custom design race car transporter in the country. Yeah, this used to where is now like a reception area, was all our spares and everything used to be in there. Gearboxes, spare ratios, wheels, tyres, all sorts of stuff. Everything we needed to run the cars were in there, and it's just like a 3-seater cab on the front. That was it basically. There we go. Here's the back. Tailgate down, big ramps there, hooked in the floor, run back. The top rail down, the top 2 cars on, tied down, covered up. All got the tie down points along the sides, tie them down with the straps, cover them, bottom one in, tie it down, cover it, ramps back in underneath, back up, there we go, packed up, ready for rock and roll.